In today's day and age, career advice is aplenty. That's why today I want to catalog a few of the best career advice that I've gotten and also some of the worst career advice that I've gotten. Hi, I'm Laura, a PM working in tech, and on my channel I cover my life working as a PM, my life working in tech, and other computer science related advice. Now, my list of career advice certainly isn't going to be the same as yours, so take it with a grain of salt. However, I've definitely found some advice that I've received more useful than others, so hopefully I can pass this along to you and you get some value out of this list. Let's start off with the first piece of helpful advice that I've heard. You don't need to have an elaborate career plan or a 5, 10, 15-year plan figured out ahead of you. Honestly, this piece of advice was just incredibly refreshing to hear. I come from a background where a lot of the expectation was I needed to have every aspect of my life drawn out, and when I didn't have that, I started to feel lost and floundered for an idea of what I needed to do. Also, realistically speaking, the idea to know exactly what we want to do and have our lives figured out has been ingrained in us since we're children. It's innocent a question of what do you want to be growing up, or where do you want to go to college, or where do you want to major when you're in college? Not that it's going to be the end of the world when you do ask these questions, but I think it does start to play into the whole idea of you need to have your life figured out and fast. Essentially, we're trained to think of it from the beginning, and how would it be any different when we move into industry and have an amorphous 20 to 30 to 40 year long career ahead of us to figure out too. Sometimes the best that you can really do is just shrug and say that you don't have everything figured out and you're playing things by ear. Most people probably also don't have as much of a clue as you're inclined to believe because everyone wants to project that air of confidence and project that they know what they're doing, when deep down, again, most of us really have no idea. Now, let's get back to the subpoint. Maybe you're thinking,
oh, I don't have to plan for anything, or I can really just wing my career.
It's still a good idea to probably know what your next career move is or have a general idea of what interests you and what you want to study as a college major. Maximize your success here by all means, but don't stress on the long terms of what happens in 5 or 10 or 15 years down the line. The answer to that is that no one really knows what's going to happen in 5, 10, or 15 years, and there's a lot of different things that can happen in your life between then that drastically alters the course of what you expected to end up. It's good to be informed, but it's not good when it causes you extreme anxiety, stress, or otherwise worry about where you're going to end up and how everything is going to shake out. The first piece of bad advice that I've heard from a few folks is that you have to be a software engineer and have an established career as a software engineer before becoming a product manager. When I was curious about what it takes to become a product manager or a PM, and I really had no idea what the PM role was like, I took a lot of time to meet with people from software engineering and PM backgrounds to get a sense of what they thought would be needed to be a good and successful PM. Throughout my conversations, though, a common theme started to emerge that a lot of people actually recommended that I start out as a software engineer and really establish myself as a software engineer to get a lay of the tech land before moving on to becoming a PM, and even that it was necessary to have that software engineering experience and background before I could even consider becoming a PM or consider myself a good PM as well. As such, they recommended that once I spent 3 to 5 years as a junior software engineer, then I could move on to exploring PM roles. They already knew that my heart wasn't in it for software engineering alone, and I think I would have wasted a lot of time otherwise, and I would have enjoyed doing the job that I'm currently doing and getting relevant experience rather than being a software engineer and not gaining PM role experience. Of course, some things do just take time and you can't cheat the system. If you want to be a senior software engineer, it's highly unlikely that you're going to just join in as a senior software engineer without working your time up as a junior software engineer and then getting promoted up into the senior levels. However, I knew that new grad PMs were a thing and companies like Microsoft were definitively hiring new grad PMs, so something just wasn't really adding up here for me. I also did talk with a few other PMs who happened to also be new grad PMs and were now senior PMs and really just encouraged me to go for it and pursue what I was interested in. So here's a sign to pursue what your heart and mind are telling you if there's really something out there that piques your interest and you think you have a good shot of achieving it. Sometimes there is just innate risk in the decision, so do what makes the most sense for you and your situation. The second piece of a good career advice I received is to take chances and explore what opportunities are out there, especially early on in your career. Your time early in career is the perfect opportunity to figure out what you want to specialize in, try out new things, and all in all, see what's out there and see what you can thrive. The time that you spend early in your career is pretty pivotal. It's a chance for you to make a lot of mistakes without a lot of repercussions, and also just to really take the time to explore and figure out what things you enjoy doing so you can take those on forward with you as you progress further into your career and gain more specialty and expertise. I think it's kind of expected when you hit those senior and principal levels that you do have a certain level of subject level expertise that others around you don't have. But at the new grad level, it's kind of just survival of the fittest. You may have interests that you come into industry with, or you may kind of just be a blank slate and trying to figure out what exactly it is that you're interested in doing. In either case, there's definitely a ton of luck involved overall. If you have something that you're interested in trying and there's relatively low risk to doing it, then by all means, I am encouraging to highly go pursue it and see where it takes you. But I think the other reason why it's so important to explore the new grad level is that you don't know what you don't know, and really there is so much out there to explore, figure out, and learn from your colleagues and peers. You'll probably find that at least someone out there knows someone who's working on a project relevant to your interests, and that's a great opportunity for you to get involved and start the conversation. The second piece of bad advice that I heard is to just stick it out if things aren't as expected or you're not having a good time. My expectations versus reality when it came to my first role was very, very different. And I know that a lot of new grads also have a similar experience where they come in with a lot of expectations and excitement for the role, only for it to quickly fall flat and not be anything like what they expected. New grads just generally don't really have a lot of say on the teams that they're placed in for a lot of companies, except maybe Google, which I do know has that host matching process. To a minor extent, I'll say that this piece of advice isn't the worst thing in the world, but it's also not amazing. Definitely, if you've only been there for a week, 2 weeks, a month, or even 2 months, you're not really going to get the full picture of what it's like to work on that team and collaborate with other members because you're still really onboarding and you're incredibly new to the whole thing. I do think though that around the 3 to 4 month mark is where you should feel a little bit more comfortable and ramped up onto your team and really getting a hang of a first project or second project even at this point. And you also start to figure out if you enjoy the team, product, software, or service that you're involved with. But if you've been there for a few months and you're just decidedly not having a good time, then by all means, make the decision to switch into something that's going to make you happier and just enjoy the time that you're spending at work. I think there's a level of self-preservation, self-care, and also just a balance between work-life balance and happiness and stress and what have you. I also hear some people shame new grads for switching around the 3 to 6 month mark, but I kind of disagree with that. If you're decidedly not having a good time, you're bored, you're frustrated, you're unfulfilled, then you're spending the most majority of your time at work, and I think that you deserve to do something that you actually enjoy doing rather than trying to stick it out and hoping for the best, fingers crossed. I can safely say though that switching teams for me was probably one of the best decisions, and I'm really enjoying the new team and everyone that I get to work with here. The third piece of good advice, and also last piece of advice I want to highlight, is that not everyone has to be the next CEO or CVP or what have you of a company. Say it with me. Most people are average. You don't need to put a ton of pressure on yourself to be the next CEO or CVP or founder of a startup because it's just unrealistic for the vast majority of us, myself included. No one is realistically expecting you to deliver something spectacular or the next world-saving invention. You just have to be good enough for your day job, and yeah. A lot of people cap out their careers just sitting at the senior level, and they enjoy and find fulfillment in what they do. Once you go beyond that senior level, there's only so many principals, partners, group managers, technical fellows, etc. that a company can have, and it becomes more of a cutthroat competition than it does just a casual write it out if that's what you want to choose. You're definitely learning the most when you move from a junior employee up to a senior level, and if you want to coast once you hit that senior level, then there's no shame in that. Once you're at senior level, you're comfortable with the work that you're doing, you're involved in a lot of different initiatives, and you're delivering good results. Some people are just willing to put in the extra effort, time, and the sacrifices that are necessary to move up to that next level, whether that be principal or partner or vice president. I just want to add into this point that hustle culture is pretty toxic. I have a whole separate video on toxic productivity, but if all you want to do after work is to not touch anything related to technical things or anything related to code, then I'm in the same boat as you, along with so many other people around the world. Hustle culture has kind of brought us to believe that everything we have to do is productive, we have to take extra classes, we have to gain more knowledge, when in reality, our free time should be our free time, and we can do with it what we want. I know it's incredibly hard though to decouple ourselves from this messaging and actually just take the time to relax and do what we want. Basically, it almost feels like we're coded to believe that whenever we're not productive, we're facing the end of the world, when in reality, you're just human. So those are 5 pieces of career advice, positive and negative, that I wanted to share with you that I've heard over the past couple of years. Let me know in the comments down below what the best or worst career advice that you've received in the past is as well. As always, if you have any more questions, feel free to schedule a coffee chat with me at ak.ms/chatwithlaura or join the conversation on the Discord. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you again next week for a brand new video. Bye.